Hey everybody, I wanted to come back to thinking wavelength and give some more in-depth detail about what this means. The thinking wavelength being something that you're hardwired with. We talked about that previously, but I want to talk about it a little bit more specifically and talk about the chart as well. We talked about what a grinder, minder, keeper, finder, and a conceiver is. And by the way, pause for a moment. If you haven't done the test, go to that unit, do the test, and then read through the descriptions to make sure you found your correct spot on the chart, your correct number. And then we'll talk about that here in this video and the discussion that goes with it as to what does that mean for you. One of the other tips is to have your spouse or significant other person do this as well. This will explain a lot of where you have some friction and frustration in your life. Understanding how someone is hardwired that is not like you sometimes is an epiphany. You're like, I thought they were broken, and yet they're just hardwired differently than you are. So do that test, talk through those differences, and then come to this video and we'll talk a little bit more in conversation in the chat. Number one being, when you write out your job description in the context of this chart, if you are 1.5 to 2 points or beyond outside of your ideal contribution zone, then you're a short timer. You won't last long in that role. Or if you do, and I've experienced this, if you stay in that role too long, you'll really get into a dysfunctional burnout and stress situation that is really, really unhealthy for you. Left unchecked, you'll do some long-term damage to yourself and to those around you and the organization you may be working for if you stay in a position that isn't a match for you. So spend some time on this. Make sure you're getting this and where you sit in this. If you need to, go back and take the test a couple of times. The video I did on extracting expectations of others, expectations of friends, family, loved ones, expectations of your organization, strip all of that away when you're doing this test so that you're making sure that you're identifying your ideal contribution zone and not the expectations of others. So I'm going to flip to the chart here and then I'm going to read some descriptions, some more description. A grinder would be ideally a corporate meeting planner, a mechanic, an administrative assistant, a software programmer, or maybe a bookkeeper. They like to document things. They take one step at a time. They get the work done. They are the workforce that gets more done than anyone anywhere else. They have a low tolerance for ambiguity. They're risk averse. They understand tasks. They like few variables. They handle administrative details well, and they deliver working drawings. A minder. A minder is a teacher, a chief engineer, a section leader, a foreman. They run a department. They're usually not innovative. They have diagnostic abilities. They can manage systems to high efficiency. They manage people in their area of expertise. A keeper. A keeper is a department operations or divisional manager, or a COO, or a GM, or a school principal, or an executive pastor, or a group president. They handle details and see the vision. They are organized. They handle variables well. They are good with people. They build and manage diverse teams. And then let's shift to finder. A finder is a CEO, a CFO, a chief visionary, product or marketing manager, joint venture leader, founding pastor, advanced development engineer. They sense and seize opportunities. They spot voids and they fill them. They love a challenge. They're bored by a steady state or repetition or a grind. They must be thrown raw meat. So this is where I'm at, and so I need to do something new and different regularly, or change the way or approach or the attitude with which I'm doing a job on a regular basis. A conceiver. A conceiver is a scientist or a researcher or a philosophy professor. They embrace risk. They produce seminal concepts. They draw little sketches. They enjoy lots of variables. They can make quantum leaps. They're opportunity oriented. They welcome change. Have a high tolerance for ambiguity. They're strategic. They postulate the new, but don't execute. They love the 40,000 foot macro level. So lots of ideas, but really low on execution and development. That's for the finders, the keepers, and the minders. Obviously, those descriptives don't document all of your positions, your roles, but think about it. Make a list, look at your job description. If you don't have one, write it out. Even if you're self-employed, what's your job description? Write it down and find the pieces of it that are a fit and the pieces that are not. And the pieces that are not, find somebody else to do those. You live in your sweet spot. Now, obviously, if you're a solopreneur like myself at this point, I got to do all of the jobs right now. I have all of the hats and I have to wear them until I get to a position where I can begin to hire those positions that I need done that aren't a fit for me. I need grinders, minders, and keepers to follow in my wake to accomplish things, to get things done, and to move the ball forward for my business. So where are you in that? Are you a grinder, minder, keeper, finder, conceiver? And again, don't get trapped in this as a box kind of thing. These are just descriptives to help you understand how you're hardwired and to keep you in your highest contribution zone in all of your life, in your work, in your family, in all of the areas of your life. You want to live in the highest contribution zone, the place you were made for, the place you were wired for, the place where you're finding significance and fulfillment in your life. So if you have any questions about this or get stuck at any point, please reach out to me, post privately or post in the comment sections about any questions that you may have or any discoveries or epiphanies. I want to hear from you about, hey, I just realized my husband's not broken. He just is hardwired differently than me. I've had that conversation with many of my clients. They like, the light goes off and they're suddenly realize they're married to a grinder and they're a finder, and it's like oil and water until they begin to have the conversation of, hey, this is how we're hardwired. Now, how do we work together, which is the right answer, to really accomplish great things and to really have a better, more significant relationship by understanding one another well and then living in health in their differences. So let us know what your contribution area is. Tell us your number and how you relate to which one of these profiles fits you best.